One thing I realized I've never done is talked about how to tune the guitar. I'm sure there's tons of videos about this, but I figure I would just give my opinion on it. And actually, like, I'm really lazy now about tuning my guitar. Like, I just always use this app called ClearTune. And sometimes I show this in like my videos, but like I just tend to use this app like all the time now, ClearTune. And it works really well, except with if the amp has distortion, and with some amps, what it does is it registers the fifth. So like sometimes you'll play like an E and it will say B. So, but like if you know what a fifth is, like you can still just, like when I see that with some of my students' amps, I can still tune it, but it's sort of a weird glitch. But that's because a fifth is like physically, like the sound waves are the closest to its relative root note. So I don't know if that makes sense, but aside from that, it's an awesome tuner. Or I have a tuner built in on here that works pretty well. So like I can also use that. But the point here is, how do you tune it if like your guitar is out of tune and you don't have a tuner? Well, like let's say all my strings were out of tune. So I mean, first of all, let's say this wasn't even like an E. This was tuned to some note I didn't know. Right now it's an E. You could actually still just tune it, like in relative to whatever note that is, it would still be fine. You just like, it's better to be in standard tuning, where E is an E and A is an A, because then you can play along to songs you like. But some bands, sometimes they're not even tuned to like a standard. A is actually the reference. Like the standard A is 440 hertz. They just agreed on that at some point in history. But yeah, like you could tune your guitar, like I'll just do it. You could tune it. So right now it's not even E. Like it's lower than E. It's not an E flat either. I don't know that by ear. I don't know perfect pitch, but like I know that's not an E because I just detuned it a tiny bit. So the question is, how do you go about tuning it? So the first thing, like the easiest way to learn is you do 5. Wow, I really made that tune. It was the same note. I'm really bad at this now. If you don't do this for a while, your ear gets really bad at tuning. There we go. Then you go 5-0 again. What you're trying to do is map to the notes, and then you do 4-0, so 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 4-0, and then 5-0. What's weird right now is my guitar is not tuned to I'll just show this, because I got a question about this today, something kind of along these lines. Right now I'm like tuned like a quarter step down. It's pretty much like right in between E flat and E. The next note is right in between A and everything's right in between. So that's the first way you should learn how to do it. And the pattern is 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 4, 0, and then 5, 0. And it's good to learn how to do this, because then you also start to realize why shapes change when you hit the B string. See that power chord shape? Got all jacked up. Or like to take a major interval. So right now my guitar sounds okay. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good, actually. Normally when I tune it that way, it usually just sounds a little off. So the next thing I do is I do these harmonics like this. So you do 5 on the, you match the harmonics. So you do 5 on the low E, and then 5 on, and then 7 on the A string. That actually sounds good. Then I do 5, 7. That sounds pretty good. 5, 7. Wow, I actually did a good job tuning it. That's surprising. Then 7. So you go 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. And then you go 7, 12, and then 7, 12. I'm shocked. I actually did a good job tuning it. So what's the point of doing that? Because that was it actually worked well there. So what's the point of what I was just trying to show? Let's say the G string was out of tune. Let me move this mic closer here so you can really hear this. So watch. That sounds good. 5, 7 sounded good. That one's a tiny bit off, but I'm going to leave it. Listen to this. Hear that horrible sound? So like when you tune this way, you would be able to hear that it was out of tune. See, it sounds horrible also. And here it sounds horrible. So watch, I'll get it like a little closer using this method. So that's pretty close. But listen. I don't know if you can hear that. There's this weird like wah, 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 like this wavering. So what you do is you match the harmonic sounds. And it's like, it's just sometimes easier to hear that, especially if you do it with the electric guitar. Like right there, that almost sounds good. But this, so, I don't know if that makes sense. It was a little confusing when I first learned that and why you would do that. But it really does help, especially on electric. And especially I think when you're just learning how to tune. Like partly I just got lazy about it once I could do it, and then I just started using a tuner all the time. But when I first started playing guitar, it really pissed me off I couldn't tune my own guitar. So it kind of drove me nuts, and I found this method would work better. Then the last thing I do when I tune is sometimes I'll check the octaves down here. I'll go G and G, and B and B, and make sure that they sound good, like C and C, D and D, E. You could just check different octaves, like G and G. And sometimes that will reveal what's wrong, and then you can also just strum the chords slowly, like. So right now what's weird about my tuning is it's a quarter step down. But see, it still sounds good. So it's not a half step down like bands do, like Nirvana tunes down a half step a lot, and Smashing Pumpkins, Weezer. Green Day tunes down a half step a lot of bands do. It's tuned a quarter step down, And there's actually bands that will do that. Will tune a quarter step down. Like, there's a Led Zeppelin song. I wish I could remember the title. I think it's Tangerine. And like one of my students wanted to learn it, and like we spent like a while trying to get it in tune because it was a quarter step down, but not like an exact quarter step. So we had to like sit there and tweak our guitars. It was just kind of a nightmare. There was a band I used to like called the Unicorns. It's a really good indie band, and they're like, I think their whole album was tuned down a quarter step. So it's really annoying because then you have to sit there and like, it's not an exact quarter step, it's just in between the notes. So you end up having to like find a note that you know is right in the song, and then trying to adjust it to make that string sound right, and then tune everything in relation to that string. So that's pretty much it with the tuning. I just wanted to show like how I do it. But usually I use my tuner at this point. But if you're a beginner, I would recommend learning to tune your own guitar, because it will improve your ear a lot. It's just an easy way to improve your ear. And it is satisfying once you can do it and like pick up someone's guitar and don't have a tuner on hand and just tune it and start playing it. Like, that is a satisfying thing to be able to do. And then another thing you should learn how to do is drop D. Just so get good at that, being able to hit the D string and then tune this down. Because drop D is so common. And then you should be able to get out of drop D. Like, I make all my students at a certain point learn how to do this because I think it's really essential. So to get out of it, you don't need to get a tuner out. You can just go like this. Hit these two, and then raise this up. Oh, it sounds... One thing with tuning, sometimes if you start thinking too hard, sometimes I notice like if I think too hard, I can like drive myself crazy because nothing will sound right. So then so now it's working. Then you should try it again, just then go back. One thing, if you're having a hard time with that, like matching it, like my ear, I think I'm overthinking it right now, it just sounds like out of tune. You can hit this note, 7th fret, or this note. Because this note is the same as, this is E, E, but this one's 2 octaves higher than this one, this is 1 octave higher. Or you can do a reverse harmonics, like let's say you just can't get it back. You can hit these 2 harmonics, and normally you're doing this to try to tune the A string, but you can use it to tune the bottom one, because they're supposed to sound the same. So right there, I was only trying to tune this string, the low one. So you could hit both harmonics and then tune the low one. You don't always have to tune up. You could learn to tune your guitar backwards, starting up here. Most people don't do that though. Well, it's kind of a habit for everybody to tune this way for some reason. And then one other thing I like to do, someone was asking about this, like, I think it's really fun to just, I think it was Blast from yesterday was asking about tunings. I think it's really fun to like pick a random note, like let's say we make the G string into E. So we'll lower it a lot. So I'm just going to keep playing this E right here. Normally this would be the note, so it's going to be 3 half steps down. So I just tune that G to an E. So now one of my middle guitar strings is E instead of G, which is fun because then when you play like normal chords, it's trippy. It's like F sharp. So that's actually really cool. That's a different inversion of D major. Normally this is the 5th, but right now it's the major 3rd. That's actually really cool. I never thought about that. Ooh, that sounds horrible. This sounds cool. That sounds horrible. So these shapes are working. This one's really working. This one kind of works. Or it's like, ooh, power chords are... I have to think about what that is. It's a major 6. See, this is a normal power chord though. This is normally a major chord. This is normally minor, but right now it sounds major. Fun because you just play your normal stuff, and it's like it's forcing you into new musical ideas that you normally wouldn't do. Like I like to play like this, so this wouldn't work. I like to do this kind of stuff. To get it back, this is E right now, and you could just go. One thing though, like when you do these alternate tunings, like I remember when I first started playing guitar, I thought it would be cool to tune this note up to sound like G, because then I could reach really high notes from here. Because imagine if this was this note, then all of a sudden like everything would slide down, so you could access like really high notes from your open chords. And it was a lot of fun, but my string broke like immediately, like after like an hour. So I realized that was a bad idea. But I have heard about people putting, you can buy like 12 string guitars, and 12 string guitars have they double the strings up. So if you ever play a 12 string, it has like a normal string and it has a tiny string next to it. That's why it has its unique sound. I have heard of people buying sets of 12 string guitars and taking just the thin ones and putting them on the guitar. That sounds really weird to me because your strings would be so thin. But I've heard it can be kind of cool, especially on electric with some effects. I think I heard about Johnny Marr doing that, and I always wanted to try it, but you know, then you got to go buy 12 strings, and that would take minimal effort. So there's not really an excuse to it. So anyways, I just figured I'd throw this out here. Okay.